degrees if you include the wind chill. Did you pitch in temperatures like this?
Not very often. We had a few cold ones. I do remember a game against SFA my freshman year. Mainly know it was cold because we had ear warmers on in all of our pictures, but it's just been recently that Texas has decided winter is mid to late February.
Some brave fans here at McCombs Field. Got the blankets out, ready to go here again for the opener of the revamped Texas Classic, schedule being moved about due to weather concerns. Take a look at the scouting report on Dolcini. Very talented player. Longhorns thrown out there today.
Yeah, the transfer from Fresno State throws about 65 to 67, pretty hard. She has a lot of upspin, rise ball, a little bit of a curve ball. She'll lower the rise ball so it looks like a screwball, and then has worked with an off-speed pitch with Coach White since she got here to Texas.
Begins with a full count to Jasmine Hill, who leads the Sun Devils with 13 hits on the season. Mike White's squad 5 and 6 overall, 1 and 4 against ranked teams. And we'll do this one again. I think this type of weather favors the hitters or the pitcher?
I think it depends on what type of pitcher you are. Talking about Dolcini getting the start, a lot of times it's hard to hit inside pitches when it's cold. If you get it off, if you don't get the barrel and it's off the handle, it hurts a lot. And Dolcini favors that inside against righties.
Payoff pitch. And she begins with a free pass to Jasmine Hill.
Dolcini just missing upstairs with that rise ball. It is her best pitch. If I were have to guess, her favorite pitch. However, walks were the concern coming out of Clearwater, and that's the one place that Coach White has talked about wanting to shore up, is these pitchers have to go at these hitters, even in counts that hitters are expecting strikes.
It's Texas's 30th walk of the season in just over 73 innings. Here is Yanni Acuna hitting .435 on the season. This offense has 5 different starters batting above 400. They're top 25 in the nation in runs scored per game, and you have to love what Tricia Ford, the 6th-year head coach, said. She said, "We like to hit the ball hard. We try to damage the ball. We like to mash," was her exact quote, and they've done that so far this year.
Yeah, Tricia Ford used various different words for mashed. I think she said we bang sometimes. I mean, she talked about the fact that they are just trying to hit balls hard when they swing, and that's their MO. You know, you look at their stats, they don't have a ton of stolen bases. They will run with some of their hitters, but you don't have to when your offense is able to hit the ball hard and hit the ball far.
Arizona State has hit 15 home runs this year. 12 of those 15 coming last weekend. And don't forget, a year ago, they hit 95 bombs. That was their most in about a decade. Dolcini ready to go. Runner on first. 2-0, and there's a strike to Acuna.
You know, I think head coach Mike White takes that timeout there early in the game, obviously, but Dolcini not throwing a lot of strikes, which again is what got this Texas pitching staff in trouble in Clearwater, and trying to settle her down to remind her you have to throw strikes in order for the hitters to then be baited to swing.
Don't forget, she did shut out a ranked Clemson team, a complete game shutout early on in the season.
Yeah, opening weekend when they were at Florida Gulf Coast University, she did look sharp.
Not the case right now, starting off the game with a walk and a hit batter.
Dolcini's pitches just getting away from her a little bit. The last 2 balls to Jasmine Hill for the walk were high. This looks like it's supposed to be a high inside rise ball. Just too much over the chalk line. Gets Acuna right there in the Evo Shield.
And here comes the Sun Devils' leading hitter, Sydney Sanders, batting .500 on the year. What a start to her career for the freshman out of San Marcos, California.
When we asked Coach Ford to describe her, all she could say was she is special. She said that word about 3 different times in describing Sanders. And she just believes that this kid is going to she's going to make an impact, and the fact that she's going to continue to make every person in this program better.
Made an impact in her very first game, went yard in just her second career plate appearance, and Dolcini falls behind again, now 3-0.
Dolcini trying to use that rise ball, but it got hit quite a bit in Clearwater. The home runs she gave up were on rise balls that were lower, about belt high. She's making sure she's not hanging it in the hitting zone, but at the same time right now she's not commanding the zone at all, so Arizona State's not going to fish for it when they're ahead in the count.
Needed that one for strike one. Already action in the Texas bullpen. You know, Mike White told us coming into this weekend, you know, our hottest pitchers right now are Sophia Simpson and Estelle Czech. Czech warming up as Hailey Dolcini loads the bases. And let's see if Czech will head out to the circle. Turned around for a moment, but will continue to warm up.
Yeah, Coach White felt that Czech and Simpson were the two pitchers who battled the best, who didn't give in, who continued to execute their plan. I also feel like they were the two who pounded the zone the most.
There's strike one to Alina Torres, the junior from Glendale, Arizona, hitting .409 on the year. Just one strikeout all season in 22 at-bats. And a golden opportunity here in the top of the first inning. Bases loaded, no outs. Torres sending this one into foul territory. That one will hit the camera well. As for the defense, by the way, behind Dolcini today, you saw Iacopo getting the start at first. Simmons behind the dish. Scott Parker Jefferson rounding out the infield. In the outfield, a lot of speed. Popelka in left, Dayton in center, and Gilbert in right.
This outfield has a ton of speed, so if a ball does get lifted out there.
And Torres does just that. Dayton waits for it. Runner on third tags. The throw off target, and Arizona State will grab the early 1-0 lead.
Bella Dayton does a good job of getting behind this ball and catching it on the way in to make the throw home. Unfortunately, throw home is just a little bit wide, which doesn't allow them to have the plate, but you see her time it, catch on her way in. Good throw in line, could have made a close play there at home.
First out of the game, here is Christiana Watson hitting .412 on the year, tied for the team lead with 3 home runs.
This is a prime opportunity for Watson to get some early insurance runs for the Sun Devils. But you know, Coach White is very cognizant of the power that Watson possesses and not gonna necessarily give her anything too good.
It has started to drizzle a little bit here at McCombs Field, in addition to the chilly temperatures. And Hailey Dolcini once again falling behind 2-0 to an Arizona State batter. Watson takes one to center field. Drifting over to make the grab is Dayton. And the runners hold 2 away here in the top of the first. So big second out recorded by Texas. 2 away now for Jasmine Rollin, the transfer from Missouri, who's been a big offensive addition for Arizona State. She has reached in 6 straight at bats. 3 homers on the year. First pitch ball from Dolcini.
This is another hitter. When you talk to Coach Tricia Ford, talks about how excited she was to get her into their program. She was very familiar with Rollin, having watched her when she was the head coach at Fresno State. Not having to drive very far to see Rollin play, knowing she wasn't going to get her at Fresno State, but just admiring the way she plays softball and plays the game. So excited once she saw her name in the portal to be able to make that phone call and figure out, she said big time, figure out if they were a match. Was Arizona State what she was looking for?
Rollin falls behind 1-2. She did put up huge numbers at Missouri in her first 2 years there. 17 homers, 31 stolen bases, and hit .343. Behind 1-2 here in the top of the first. 2 on, 2 away, and we'll do it again. Big spot here for both teams. Texas, we've talked about their recent struggles, hoping to keep it a 1-run game right now after Arizona State had the bases loaded earlier.
Yeah, if Hailey Dolcini can get out of this with only 1 run scored, it's going to be a huge momentum boost for Texas as they go to the offensive side.
It's one of the top offenses in the country right now at Arizona State. Again, they had the bases full with no outs. They still haven't recorded a hit, although they're leading where it counts, 1-0. Dolcini with a couple of walks and a hit batter. The 1-2. Rollin laid off that one.
That was a great pitch by Haley Dolcini. She's ahead in the count. She's been using that screwball. Rollin just fouled off the last one, and she tries to stretch the plate just a little bit. Rollin doesn't go for it, but still that pitch can now set up something else.
7th pitch of the at-bat. Well, after that first run scored by Arizona State on the season, Texas has allowed 54 runs this year, and they have scored 55. Mike White looks on. 2-2, sent to left. Pepelka is there. And the inning comes to an end. Texas does not give up a hit, but the Sun Devils grab a 1-0 lead. We'll see how the Horns offense responds next. On to the bottom of the first we go. Mac Morgan, the freshman from Creighton, Missouri, getting the start in the circle for Arizona State.
Mac Morgan was a highly touted pitching recruit that Coach Tricia Ford got her hands on, the number 4 recruit in the country, but also a member of the USA junior team pitching staff. Went down, won a junior Pan Ams and junior U18 World Cup title. But dominant pitcher coming in from her high school days. Can throw it hard. We'll see a lot of drop balls.
Facing a Texas offense that's only hitting .258 right now, but Mackenzie Parker has done a solid job offensively.
Yeah, Mackenzie Parker has been consistent with runners in scoring position. You see she's hitting 545 with runners in scoring position. Really, though, Texas has to get those runners on for Mackenzie Parker to be able to get some RBIs.
Janae Jefferson swinging at the first pitch, quickly one away. She's still trying to get going both offensively and defensively this year. So now coming up is a player Mike White calls a younger version of Janae Jefferson, the freshman from Angleton, Texas, Mia Scott. Scott hit .385 at the St. Pete Clearwater Elite Invitational, leading the team with a .438 average. But again, last year Texas hit .342, program record, number 3 in the nation. This year, different story. Hitting .258, it's good for 154th in the country. Very un-Mike White-like numbers.
Yeah, Texas just really hasn't found its stride yet, to be honest. Janae Jefferson is struggling just a little bit, and I think Texas has always looked to her to be the spark plug, and with her struggling, might be hitting the panic button just a little bit, but Mia Scott obviously inserted into the lineup last Wednesday, and that could be the second spark plug that Texas needs.
Texas averaging about 5 runs per game. There is strike 1 from Morgan. Morgan leading the Sun Devils in wins with 3. Opposing batters hitting .262 against the freshman. Swing and strike 2.
Mac Morgan, she'll hit 70. They're trying to teach her to pull back just a little bit, trust her spin. She has a really great drop ball, a changeup that mirrors that, but occasionally will throw so hard that her ball doesn't break as much as Coach Ford would like to see it. But as a freshman, if you can command the zone and slowly start to learn those intricacies, you'll have a long career ahead of you. But Coach Ford handing her the ball today and letting Arizona State get off to a hot start.
One of the many new faces on this Arizona State team. And Texas now has their first base runner with Mia Scott. The Sun Devils lost 11 players from a year ago, including the Hackbarth sisters. A lot of new faces, new parts, but Tricia Ford told us, listen, if we can get these pieces in place, we get the puzzle to fit together, we're going to be dangerous this year.
Yeah, Coach Ford talking a lot about how they recruit athletes that fit their philosophy, how even the transfers fit their philosophies. You know, Rollin coming in has a little bit of an edge, not having been able to play a lot last year for Missouri, wanting to prove herself after a great freshman year where she was named to the SEC All-Freshman team. So she tries to find players with that competitive edge and that just want to go to work and want to win.
See Mia Scott over at first. She's 3 for 3 in stolen bases to start off her career. As Mary Iakopo takes ball 2. Iakopo tied for the team lead in RBIs. She has reached in 8 of her first 11 games. So both pitchers so far, Kat, you know, the trend is they are starting off behind in counts to the opposing batters.
Yeah, actually, I like the at-bat that Mia Scott had and the way Mary Iakopo has approached this one, making sure to force Mac to prove that she can throw strikes. I think, you know, Janae Jefferson went out, swung at the first pitch. That doesn't give you timing of knowing what this pitcher throws. This isn't like a conference opponent where they face this pitcher for 2 or 3 years now. Mac Morgan, a freshman. Give yourself a chance to get some timing, see what she throws, and prove that she can control the strike zone. So Texas being a little bit more patient than we normally see.
Morgan ready with the 2-0. Runner is going. Here's the throw, and Scott has her 4th stolen base of the year. 4 for 4 for the freshman, and she continues to do it all for Texas.
Texas is going to look to Mia Scott to be a spark plug for a long time. Janae Jefferson going to be in the leadoff spot as a senior, but if she can get on, her and Mia Scott will wreak havoc on the bases. Scott's speed is unbelievable. Coach White says he believes she's the fastest player that he has ever coached.
That is saying a lot, as Texas now 17 for 18 in the stolen base department this season.
When you talk about speed, Texas has some in this lineup. They just need to find ways to force defenses to make some errors or rush some plays, or just find ways to find the holes to get on, because in the opening home game, we talked to Coach White, and he talked about how Bella Dayton's extremely fast. So, and then you have Lou Gilbert, you have Alyssa Popelka. There's speed in this lineup if they can get it on the base.
And usually we talk about the power when it comes to Mike White coach teams, but this year the speed has been there. As we said, 17 stolen bases. Texas in the home run department with 9 so far this season. Mary Iakopo 4 for 8 on the year with runners in scoring position. Over to short. Torres on to first for out number 2 as Scott advances to third. So here comes Mackenzie Parker. She's put up big offensive numbers for Texas here in her junior season. 7 RBIs with runners in scoring position. Kat, you talked about team leading 545 in that category. Take strike 1 from Morgan.
Yeah, if you had to name an offensively clutch hitter for Texas right now, Mackenzie Parker is it. And I believe that's why she's now down in the 4-hole. She started the season in the 2-hole behind Janae Jefferson. But when you're hitting with runners in scoring position, they're going to want you up with runners on, and that's more likely to happen down there in the 4-hole.
She was a hitter from the moment she arrived on campus. Hit nearly 360 in the first 15 games of her career. Trying to come through here with her team down 1-0 in the bottom of the first inning, 2 away. And there's strike 2.
There's a beautiful changeup by Mac Morgan. She's been throwing a lot of that drop ball. You've seen a lot of power coming out of her arm right now, but I believe Mary Iakopo saw a changeup for her last ground out, and that's a pretty pitch. When you can show that you can throw that changeup through the strike zone, it's going to create some doubt in the hitter's minds and give you an advantage as a pitcher.
Morgan, a top 6 high school prospect in the nation, according to multiple publications. With the 2-2. Did Parker go around? Yes, she did. A big inning-ending strikeout for the freshman Mac Morgan. Texas leaves a runner on third. And it's 1-0 after 1 in Austin.
Longhorn Network Softball is brought to you by Whataburger. Whataburger knows just how to satisfy your cravings. The Dr. Pepper Shake, available for a limited time.
Inning number 2 for Haley Dolcini as she'll face the 7, 8, and 9 hitters in the Arizona State lineup. And Kat, Dolcini threw 31 pitches in that first inning.
Yeah, Dolcini throwing a lot of pitches, and a lot of pitches not really close to the strike zone. She is a rise ball pitcher. She's trying to throw that pitch through the zone, but she did get behind 4 of 6 hitters, which is never in your favor as a pitcher. Hitters can actually get kind of comfortable in the box knowing that you're not attacking the plate in the strike zone very often. So Texas going to look to see if she can make an adjustment.
And the first pitch ball there from Dolcini.
For an All-American pitcher coming in, I think Mike White expects her to be able to command this zone a little bit better, allow herself to get strikes, and then use her pitches to stretch the zone, and that hasn't been the case so far.
McKenna Harper fouls one off, the senior from Stevenson Ranch, California, who started off the season 3 for 18. Dolcini is a fighter, that's for sure. That's one of the reasons Mike White brought her over, not just for the numbers, the intangibles as well, her leadership qualities and competitiveness out there in the circle. And fights back now to earn a 1-2 count in her favor.
Yeah, you talked to Dolcini about her move from Fresno State over here to Texas, and she just talks about the fact she had 1 year left and she wanted to be able to develop to be the best she could. Knowing that she could graduate and possibly try something new, she decided, you know what, semester, let me go make the most of the last possible couple months of my playing career.
Last year an ERA just over 1, 14 shutouts, most in the nation. That one just turning foul. Former Mountain West pitcher of the year. And again, I mean, not just every pitcher, not just every big name pitcher gets nominated to the Player of the Year watch list. Put up massive numbers last year. And Texas hoping to see some of that talent early on here, not only in the season, but today as well. This is a big test for her against a potent offense.
It is. You saw she was an All-American last year, and she had some big wins. Texas had seen her throw against some big-time teams, but even at Fresno State, she wasn't playing this type of competition every single day.
2-2 lifted to shallow left, and Parker is there. Yeah, Arizona State came in hitting .332 on the year. 15 home runs. Pretty stacked up and down the lineup, but now 4 in a row retired after Harper flies out. Here is Jessica Puck, the transfer from Ole Miss.
Jessica Puck, one of those, if you're looking at the stat line, you might scratch your head wondering how is someone still hitting 0 in the lineup, but Coach Ford talking about how much of an asset she is behind the plate. The pitchers absolutely love to throw to her, how smart she is back there. And, you know, you see it in baseball a lot, even in MLB right now, is there are a lot of catchers that are smart, great pitch callers, great framers, great arms that might struggle a little offensively, but they still find themselves on the field every day.
Puck a dribbler. Parker charges, and the throw in time. But don't forget, women's college hoops in action tomorrow night at the Irwin Center. Texas taking on TCU. The Longhorns women's basketball team on fire right now. They have won 5 in a row, ranked number 11 in the nation. Tip-off at 7 p.m. right here on LHN and on the ESPN app. 2 away now for Bella Loomis. First pitch strike from Dolcini.
Loomis down here in the bottom of the Arizona State lineup, but has been there her whole career. Coach Ford said she really likes how she continues to turn the lineup over year in and year out. So she's just kept her there, and Loomis is like, hey, I'm comfortable here doing the job you need me to do, Coach.
The senior from Chandler, Arizona, 91 career RBIs, 18 home runs. Well, it's going to be interesting if we look back at that first inning and say, hey, that was key for Dolcini. After getting out of that, she was able to cruise for a while. We'll see if that is the case. All I know is after allowing the first 3 batters to reach, she has retired the last 5. That one dropped by Scott. Looked like she was going to snare it, and unable to end the top half of the second. So the first error of the game for Texas, and this has been an ongoing theme for the Longhorns. That is now 22 errors on the season for Texas.
Yeah, that's an inside pitch that looks like it might get off the handle and kind of float, just spin in and out of Mia Scott's glove. She reaches for it. Unfortunately, Loomis a little bit too fast for her to have any type of play after that hits the ground.
Longhorns have committed the most errors by any Power 5 school in the nation. Back up to the top of the order we go. Jasmine Hill, she walked to lead off the game.
You know, Alex, we talk about the woes that Texas had in Clearwater, and if your pitching staff is struggling and your defense is struggling, that's not a recipe for much success, no matter what your offense can do.
Mike White has talked about don't let these mistakes snowball. Because in his words, that has been the case this season. He said our team has started to hang their heads when a mistake happens. Don't let that mistake beat us twice. Jasmine Hill on this season, batting .481, second best on the team with 3 home runs. 1-2 chop back up to Dolcini. Handles that one casually, and the inning comes to an end. 1 base runner, and that is it for Arizona State. Still hitless are the Sun Devils. Texas offense coming up next. A pitcher's duel so far early on at McCombs Field. No hits, 1 run total after a couple of walks, but Haley Dolcini has certainly settled down for Texas. As far as Arizona State is concerned, the freshman Mac Morgan, an efficient first inning, 18 pitches and a strikeout.
Yeah, Mac Morgan doing a good job of throwing around the zone, baiting Texas hitters to have to swing the bat, but then using that changeup that you see right there effectively around the strike zone as well.
5, 6, and 7 hitters due up here in the bottom of the second inning. Courtney Day leading off, tied for the team lead in home runs with 2. Also 3 doubles on the year. And the count 2-0. Well, Day started off hot, reaching in her first 7 games of the year, but it has been held off the bases over her last 3. 0 for her last 10. Over to short, Torres between her legs. Texas leadoff hitter is aboard. So 1 error now for each team.
Courtney Day pulls this outside pitch, but Acuna, I think, thinking it's going to pop up, and it didn't. It stayed down. But Arizona State committing their first error. If you're Texas right now, you want to cash in on any free base runners you can get. So they're going to look to move her and see what the bottom of this lineup can do.
Here's the freshman Katie Simmons from Humble. First pitch ball. Simmons starting the 6th game of her career. Currently hitting 182 with a home run that came against Central Florida. Getting the start behind the dish.
Yeah, Simmons being inserted into the lineup after that first weekend as well. Her and Mia Scott both got their first start against McNeese last Wednesday. But she has some power that Texas likes. She also has another option behind the plate to Mary Iacopo.
Number 5 catcher in the nation coming out of high school. Power hitting catcher in Humble. Drove in 159 runs. 52 doubles and 32 home runs. Again, during her high school days. Takes this one into foul territory. Loomis looks up. That one too far.
Yeah, I really believe Simmons is going to be one of those players. She may struggle a little bit this year as a freshman, just getting the pace of play at the college level, plus seeing elite pitching day in and day out. But Texas will probably stick with her in the lineup because they need her to be ready next year to take over behind the plate with Iacopo graduating.
A lot of new pieces trying to gel in this Texas lineup, especially here in the bottom half of the order. After Simmons, you have Bella Dayton, the transfer, followed by Lou Gilbert, another transfer. And then Alyssa Papelka, who missed a big chunk of last season with an injury. Full count to Simmons with Day on first. Takes this one up the middle, snared by Torres over to first, and Texas gets doubled up. Torres atoning for the error.
Yeah, I misspoke saying Acuna was there at shortstop, and it was Torres who made the error, but Simmons just hits this ball on the line. But Torres, you see her shaded up the middle, able to make that grab, and nothing Courtney Day can do in order to get back, and Arizona State gets 2.
Heck of a play by the junior from Glendale, Arizona. So 2 away now for Bella Dayton, the transfer from Arizona, hitting 200 in her first season with the Longhorns.
This is a matchup where Coach White probably knows that Bella Dayton's a little bit familiar with what Arizona State has in the circle, aside from Mac Morgan. Mac Morgan being the only freshman that they have on their staff, but Bella Dayton probably, if not have faced, have seen all of Arizona State's arms throw in the last 2 years. A little advantage for her, hopefully.
Hit 252 during her career with the Wildcats, and there's a strike.
We talk about Bella Dayton being fast, and obviously you see her running through the box as a slapper there, but talked to offensive coach Steve Singleton, and he talks about how hard the ball comes off of her bat when she does swing away. And that's not something a lot of slappers possess, is the ability to play small ball and hit the ball with as much power as she has.
Good eye there to get ahead in the count on a close call, 2-1. Hit .302 last year. 10 stolen bases. Count evened up at 2.
We've seen Texas show bunt quite a few times. Bella Dayton has done it twice here in this at bat. We saw Mia Scott show it. They're going to try to force Arizona State to make some plays.
Backhanded over at first by Sanders. And a 1-2-3 inning with Torres over at short. Flash in the leather for Arizona State. We've completed 2 from McCombs. Still 1-0 Sun Devils. On to the 3rd inning we go. Arizona State clinging to that 1-0 lead. The Sun Devils coming off a season in which they went 33-16 a year ago, hosting a regional. Again, 95 home runs last year, their most since 2013. But they came up short in that Tempe regional. One of 3 national seeds to lose in the first round of the NCAA postseason.
Yeah, you know, we're talking a lot about the circle, and to be honest, for Arizona State last year in that regional, the circle was kind of their downfall. They had a couple pitchers out from injury and a couple that had to try to step up, but threw a lot of innings for them. Just unable to overcome that, and you see a little bit more depth this year in Tricia Ford's staff.
And Tricia Ford done a tremendous job now in her 6th season in charge. Her 2nd year, won 48 games with the Sun Devils. So here's the 2, 3, and 4 batters coming up in this inning. Yanni Acuna fouls one off. She was hit by a Dolcini pitch in the first inning. Now in that first inning, again, Haley Dolcini threw 31 pitches, but in the second got that number down to 17 pitches.
Yeah, much more effective around the zone in the second inning. Arizona State popping some balls up on her screwball and rise ball combination. And we even saw a little bit of off speed for the last out of the inning.
We were wondering, would Estelle Check come out of the bullpen? We saw her about to step onto the field. Stayed in there, and Dolcini has settled down.
Yeah, Alex.
1-2 misses.
Alex, you were talking about it being cold, and I think the one thing it does affect is if you're a relief pitcher. You have to almost continuously throw because you can get colder. Your arm, your muscles will start to get a little bit tighter a lot quicker in this weather than it would on a normal day.
Simpson and Check staying loose. I would think this is maybe the toughest 2 on the outfielders who just have to stand there. It is windy out there. Again, with the wind chill, it's about 30. Just waiting for something to happen.
Yeah, you see Bella Dayton trying to keep herself in a ball almost. Alyssa Popelka has her hand in her back pocket until it's time for Dolcini to pitch.
Called strike 3. First strikeout of the contest for Haley Dolcini.
Great little low rise ball here. Screwball that cuts the plate. The ball is probably half on, half off that corner. Simmons does a great job of picking it up into the zone just a little bit. Good job by Dolcini starting to figure out how to nibble at those corners versus missing by a couple inches.
That is your team leading 23rd strikeout of the season in just over 23 innings. Sydney Sanders at the plate.
Alex, we were talking about Dulcini commanding the zone, and you can tell she's starting to command the zone better when hitters swing at the first pitch like Sanders did just there.
She certainly looks more comfortable. The count evened up at 1. Sydney Sanders, meanwhile, has reached an 8 out of her first 10 games. At least heading into this one, actually, after that walk, make it 9 out of 11 to start off her career. And again, a team leading 500 batting average. Works ahead in the count.
Yeah, you know, we are talking about the 500 average being outstanding for any athlete, yet alone a freshman. But again, you talk to Coach Ford, and she talks about how hard this athlete works. She doesn't come in and just expect it to come easy. She continues to work hard day in and day out. And you know what? You're going to reap what you sow. Put in more work, you're going to see some success.
It's paid off so far this season for an Arizona State offense that, by the way, has put together 5 run rule victories. 5 of their 7 wins have come via the run rule, including their last 4. 2-2. Scott charging in from third in time.
Shortstop number 40, Elena Torres.
This is a slow roller. Dulcini throws a changeup. Sanders gets just enough of it, but Mia Scott does a great job getting rid of that ball quickly. You see her, she doesn't even have to, she doesn't turn to square up. She stays facing the hit, Mary Iacopo at first just to get the ball out of her hand. Great transition and great pickup by Mia Scott.
Scott busy again over there on the hot corner, and a 1-2-3 inning worked by Texas, their first of the game. Arizona State still hitless. So are the Longhorns. See what their offense can do coming up. Arizona State scored in the opening moments of this game, and that has held up. Leadoff hitter Jasmine Hill walked. Next batter, Yanni Acuna got hit, and then Sydney Sanders followed up with a walk to load the bases after that. Elena Torres with a sac fly that drove in the only run of the game. That has been the difference so far as we head to the bottom of the 3rd inning. 8, 9, and 1 hitters due up now for Texas, still trailing 1-0.
Texas has speed coming up in Luke Gilbert, Alyssa Popelka, Janae Jefferson, Mia Scott. The next 4 could wreak some havoc if they can figure out how to get on the bases.
Texas yet to hit a ball to the outfield. They reached in the 1st inning on a walk to Mia Scott. Leadoff hitter in the 2nd, Courtney Day, reached via an error, but that's been it.
Yeah, it's going to be really hard for Texas hitters to lift Mac Morgan's drop ball into the outfield. There we see Lou Gilbert try to bunt again. That's probably about the 6th bunt attempt we've seen from Texas. Not a bad option if you're able to successfully execute it, but Mac Morgan throws a hard, heavy drop ball, which means it's going to be hard for a barrelhead to stay through and lift that ball. So there are going to be a lot of ground balls. If Texas wants to be successful, they're going to have to think low line drives, hard ground balls through the infield.
That's a great point as Gilbert awaits the 0-1 from Mac Morgan. At 0-2. Gilbert 1 for 16 to start off her Texas career. The transfer from Baylor, that one hit was a big one, an RBI single against UCLA to pull the Longhorns within 1, but that was as close as they could get.
You know, Alex, the only exception to that would be Mac Morgan's changeup. If Texas can figure out when she's throwing it and try to stay through that, they might be able to drive that ball to the outfield a little bit more. But so far, she's thrown a lot of that heavy 70-mile-an-hour fastball, 68-mile-an-hour drop ball combo.
Count goes 2-2. Arizona State again ranked number 22 in the nation. Texas 24. Sun Devils 7-3. Their 3 losses: a narrow loss to Oklahoma State, a close one to Minnesota, and then a bizarre 4-0 loss to Missouri State, in which they could only play 5 innings due to time constraints. Lost 4-0. That one handled easily by the freshman Morgan.
Talking about efficiency again, Mac Morgan gets ahead of Lou Gilbert, tries to use her changeup a little bit, but then comes back inside with that hard pitch, and Gilbert just not able to do anything with it.
Here comes Alyssa Popelka, 0 for 3 on the year. This is her first start of the season. Again, still recuperating from that season-ending leg injury she suffered last year after 27 games and was off to a great start, hitting .375 last year, 13 stolen bases. I do like the fact Texas going with a ton of outfield speed today with Popelka, Gilbert, and Bella Dayton.
Yeah, not only is it just a change in what Texas has been doing through their lineup so far this season, but at the same time, again, we talk about weather, Alex. It's a lot harder. Sometimes your hands get cold, your hand gets dry. Now you're trying to make a play. It can cause a bad throw. So just Texas, to me, looks like they're going to try to make things happen with the speed. They just have to be able to execute putting the ball in play.
The temperature has climbed to 37 degrees here at McCombs Field, but again with the wind chill, it's right around 30. Game 1 of the Texas Classic. Everybody will take a break tomorrow and then resume play on Sunday. Another bunt attempt by Texas, unable to lay that down.
Mac Morgan's spin on her drop ball is going to make it hard for a bunt to be put down in play. And it's definitely going to be easier if it's a drop away as opposed to inside. But these hitters for Texas are going to have to stay down through that ball if they think they're going to put a drop ball in fair territory.
Popelka swinging away on the 0-2, and her speed will get her there. That is the first hit of the season for Alyssa Popelka. Again, that's the first hit of the game for either team.
Yeah, Popelka tops this, and you see Sanders goes straight back to the bag. I think she thought Mac Morgan was going to jump off the mound and try to field it, so therefore she wasn't in position to actually field it. I think might have been a close play if she were able, or if she had stayed in position to be able to field that, but nonetheless, Texas has a runner aboard.
And a fast runner at that. Popelka in her career 20 of 21 in the stolen base department. So here's Janae Jefferson. What a strange start to the season for her. The 3-time All-American. That's not a mistake there. Her average sitting at .303, which for her is kind of stunning. Best hitter in Texas history hits into an inning-ending double play. And the early season struggles for Janae Jefferson continue. Arizona State continues to lead 1-0. We'll talk to assistant coach Jeff Harger coming up next. To the 4th inning we go here in game number 1 of the Texas Classic. The visiting Sun Devils leading 1-0. We're now joined by their head coach, Tricia Ford. Coach, thanks for coming on with us. What do you make of Mac Morgan's performance so far? 1 hit allowed, and that is it for the freshman.
Yeah, I think she's doing a great job of kind of commanding both sides of the plates and changing the speeds on them. So part of the plan, and she's doing a good job of executing it.
And Coach, you talked about how exciting your offense is and that you guys can flat out mash. What adjustments are you guys looking to make against Dulcini as the game goes on?
Yeah, I just think, we have a plan and we're not being aggressive early in the counts. And so I think that's our biggest thing is get on her early in the count. When she gets ahead, I mean, any good pitcher, right, then they can start toying with you. So just be aggressive early.
Coach, you staying warm? You have hand warmers or something?
Good Lord, it doesn't get low. It doesn't get this cold overnight where we're at. So
I'm sure. I heard you put the parka on when it hits 70,
yes.
So you are probably have a couple layers going.
I have about 4, yes.
Thanks, Coach.
Right,
appreciate
take
it.
Care.
Tricia Ford, head coach of the Arizona State Sun Devils. Haley Dulcini, meanwhile, for the Texas Longhorns, has certainly settled down, allowed the first 3 batters of the game to reach since then. The only Sun Devil that has reached came in the 2nd inning via a Texas error. That's it. Christiana Watson leading things off here in the 4th.
Hear Coach Ford talk about their plan of attacking earlier in the count. They were patient in the 1st inning, but then they got their RBI because they were aggressive when Dulcini came around the zone after loading the bases. So they did execute that a little bit early on. They've only swung at 1 first pitch strike that they've seen. So her wanting to see that number increase a little bit, but I think they've done a pretty decent job of being patient when the ball's not around the plate, but at the same time, those last 2 innings not being aggressive enough in Coach Ford's mind.
Dulcini up over 60 pitches now. Christiana Watson As I mentioned, Kat, the daughter of three-time All-American Laura Espinosa, who once hit 37 home runs in a season. But, hey, Coach Ford said Christiana is carving her own path, and she's going to set some records, according to Coach Ford, before her career is all said and done. Again, a redshirt freshman for Arizona State.
Yeah, going off of Coach Ford's description of Watson, I think her bat might be louder than she is as a person. She said she's a quiet athlete.
A little too quiet there at the plate. Second strikeout of the contest for Haley Dolcini.
This has been the best off-speed pitch that Dolcini has thrown in this game so far. If she can get this pitch going, it's going to open up for her. But that has not been something that's been extremely consistent for her this season.
This looks like the Haley Dolcini the nation saw at Fresno State a year ago. Went 49-13 during her career at Fresno State. Here's Jasmine Rollin. Flew out to end the first with multiple runners on. We were wondering how big of an inning that was. We said it was a huge inning, and that's because, hey, it has been. That one run's the difference. Arizona State had the bases loaded with no outs in that inning.
You're right, Alex. They had the bases loaded. They had Watson, Roland, Harper, all who are known to hit the ball and hit the ball hard coming up. But Dolcini managed to just get a sac fly, or allow a sac fly, and then get the other two out. So really kind of a momentum shift for her in the circle in that first inning.
I mean, still a special game going for Dolcini, and we'll leave it at that.
Don't jinx it.
I didn't want to say it.
You have a pitcher in the box with you, Alex.
Don't even go there, right? Look at the pitch count decreasing so far with each inning. The 0-2.
You know, I think expanding even on her pitch count there, we talked after the first weekend to Coach Mike White, and he was impressed with how Estelle Check was really effective. Her pitch count was extremely low in her first start, and that's what he really wants to see from his pitchers. Strikeouts are great. You know, it's the flashy thing that people want to see, but he's like, hey, if we can get outs in fewer pitches, 3 or less, I'm going to be happy.
Are strikeouts overrated? Is that what you're telling me?
I'm saying some people think that.
Dolcini looking for another one here. Hey, she struck out 2 of the last 4 batters she has faced. The 2-2 offering coming up with 1 away here in the top of the 4th inning. Smoked over to first, but Mary Iacopo is there.
I will never claim that efficiency was my forte. Dolcini doing a good job of spreading the zone right there. Got Roland to chase a high pitch for a hard hopper to Iacopo. But again, because she's commanding the zone, she's going to get the Arizona hitters to start swinging at some pitches out of the zone, which is what didn't happen in the first inning. 2
away from McKenna Harper. Mary Iacopo has played everywhere throughout her career here at Texas, over at first, behind the plate, at third base, and right field. Again, getting the start at first today. So the Sun Devils, yeah, just have been shut down offensively over the last 2.5 innings. Harper coming off a terrific year a season ago when she hit .342, 10 home runs. Sister, of course, is 3-time All-American Jessie Harper.
Jessie Harper, who was in that home run race for a little bit as well.
Harper sends this one into the gap, and the no-hitter is over. She's rounding first, and that'll be a 2-out double for McKenna Harper.
Good piece of hitting it right here by McKenna Harper. Dolcini trying to go inside, not her forte, but knowing she has to show it. She leaves it over the plate a little bit, and McKenna Harper does a great job of just driving it where it was pitched, up the right center gap a little bit. See Bella Dayton giving chase. If that ball gets to the wall, it's probably a triple. So the speed of Texas outfield there, keeping Harper at second.
Big hit here to pitcher's duel. First extra base hit for either team in this one. The first hit of the game for Arizona State. Here is Jessica Puck in a big spot, runner in scoring position with 2 away. Puck still looking for her first hit as a Sun Devil since coming over from Ole Miss. smashes one foul. Of what Tricia Ford said about Jessica Puck. She said, if you know someone who doesn't like Jessica Puck, I probably have a problem with that person. She said she is beloved. She wished she was here during her entire career. Teammates love her. Of course, was a team captain with Ole Miss last year, bringing plenty of postseason experience to the Sun Devils. The count goes 1-2.
Yeah, anytime you have that type of athlete transfer into your program, especially if you wish you'd have them for multiple years, they make an impact one way or another. And obviously they are waiting for her bat to get hot, but she's making an impact and they influence in other ways.
Janae Jefferson calling for it, and the inning comes to an end. First hit of the game for the Sun Devils. It remains a 1-0 game. We'll talk to Longhorns head coach Mike White coming up after the break. Texas trying to snap a 5-game losing streak here in this top 25 matchup. In between number 24 Texas, number 22 Arizona State. And Mike White getting ready to join us in a moment here in a close 1-0 game. And now he is ready to go. Coach White, thanks for hopping on with us. Haley Dolcini seems to have settled down over the last few innings. What have you seen out of her today?
Well, she's starting to use all her pitches right now, and of course getting ahead a little bit. I think she was just a little tentative coming out, just waiting for something to happen, and unfortunately we gave up a run, but we got out of it relatively unscathed, and right now we got to just keep hitting the ball and come back.
Coach, a little bit different lineup today. You're outfield with some speed. Can you talk about that switch and what adjustments you're looking for them to make as you guys go into the last half of this game?
Well, that's exactly what it is. We put a little more speed in the outfield. We've had a few balls drop in, so we're trying to take some of that away and, and hopefully use those rabbits down the bottom of the lineup to get on base and have somebody come in and drive them in. So that's the game plan. We'll see if it happens or it works.
Thanks, Coach. Good luck the rest of the way.
Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, I love that change, especially with, the offense has been struggling so far this season, so at least let's shore up the defense out there. That has been the case. Mia Scott leading off this inning. Texas with a single in the third, courtesy of Alyssa Popelka, and a walk back in the first inning, courtesy of Scott. That's been it for the Texas offense so far against the freshman, Mac Morgan.
Yeah, Mia Scott had a great at-bat in that first inning. You hear Coach White call his speedsters his rabbits. He really wants to see them be able to get on base and then put some pressure on the defenses.
She's just automatic. She came in as Texas's top hitter. Again, the true freshman. She has delivered, walked in the first, and singles here in the fourth inning. Mia Scott.
I think the biggest thing is that Mia Scott doesn't try to do too much. You see a drop ball just over the plate a little bit, but she's trying to drive that up the middle. She's not trying to lift it. She didn't try to do too much. A single is going to do wonders right now. Mia Scott, really a bright spot for this offense.
Mary Iacopo gives one a ride, and that one just foul. Unfortunately, got it caught up in the jet stream, and the wind is pushing it foul towards the right field line. So that's a long strike.
Yeah, unfortunately, that is a long strike for Mac Morgan. Right after we talked about the ball won't be lifted a ton. Mac Morgan leaving that just a little high, and Mary Iacopo saying, hey, I'll make the most of your mistakes right now.
Iacopo went hunting for her third home run of the season. It's 0-2 now. Iacopo tied for the team lead at RBIs with 7.
So we see here, this is the third time Texas has had a runner on first, and every time there's a runner on first, you'll see the middle infielders pinch for Arizona State. So they're playing the odds that Texas, is, if they hit a ball, is going to go up the middle, which is why they've turned 2 double plays. You saw Torres get the line drive, and then we saw Roland be able to field that ball and turn the double play that Janae Jefferson put in play. But they play the odds there, which opens up the 3-4 hole and the 5-6 hole. But again, Mac Morgan, drop ball pitcher, it's most likely going up the middle.
Those double plays came in each of the last 2 innings. Iacopo sends one deep to center, and Hill on the run makes the grab. What a catch by the junior Jasmine Hill for the first out of the inning.
This pitch left up in the zone. Mary Iacopo puts a charge in it, but the speed of Hill, she's able to track that down. And you want to talk about the speed of Mia Scott, too. She was already standing on second base, having to backtrack.
Here's Mackenzie Parker, second at bat this game and second at bat with a runner on. Had a runner in scoring position in the first inning. It was also Mia Scott, but Parker struck out to end that frame.
The defense really working well behind Mac Morgan. Something that this freshman really needs as she starts to adjust to the college game.
Just to be aware of Scott over at first. Mia Scott has already stolen a base today, 4 of 4 in that department. One and one to Parker. Scott is going. The throw is on target, and they got her.
Again, we talk about that middle infield being pinched. You see Roland only a couple steps from second base, so she's not going to get beat to the bag on that. And Puck, if she can put the ball over the base, she's going to hose a lot of runners, and you saw that right there with Mia Scott's steal.
Yeah, I mean, that is a great defensive catcher they brought over from Ole Miss. Mia Scott, for the first time in her young Texas career, thrown out on the bases.
Yeah, you saw Mackenzie Parker swing on that pitch. Have to wonder if Mike White tried to put a hit and run on or not. But either way, there has to be a little more effort if there was a hit and run for Mackenzie Parker to try to touch that ball.
Behind 1-2 with 2 away. Sends one into the gap in left center. That's going to drop in. And she'll be held to a single as Harper got there in a hurry. 2-out single for Mackenzie Parker. So Texas, with 2 hits in this inning, 2 of their 3 hits in the game have come in this inning.
This pitch, a changeup by Morgan, hangs just a little bit. Mackenzie Parker stays through that. We're seeing the ball get to the outfield now a little bit for the Texas hitters. Now they just need to be able to string something together.
How big is that out moments ago when Scott got thrown out on the bases trying to steal second? Here's Courtney Day, reached on an error in the second.
Yeah, that caught stealing was huge, and you can actually back up to Mary Iacopo's at bat. Her second strike was an inside pitch that she didn't even swing. It kind of found the bat, which forced her then to have to swing, which she put a good drive in it, but it took Mia Scott stealing out of Mike White's hands when Mary Iacopo got 0-2.
Count 2-0 now today. Day with 6 hits in her first 7 games, but hitless since then.
Day was a hitter that Mike White said if she can stay consistent in the middle or in the 3-4 part of this lineup, Texas is really going to see some offensive success.
Always had a lot of power. Last year hit .323 as well. In her freshman campaign, true freshman campaign, hit .368. Of course, all the designations all over the place due to the extra COVID year of eligibility. 2-2 with 2 away, and she goes down swinging. Mac Morgan with another inning-ending strikeout with a runner on. Freshman getting it done in the circle for the Sun Devils.
As a researcher in
What's today, ladies? It's 2/22/22, so the deuces are wild.
I'll lead Austin, I've never done that in my life.
And they're leaving the yard by about 50, 40 feet.
Well, newsflash, Oklahoma hasn't even given up an earned run.
That's what you call a 3-headed monster, Amanda.
And Hutch looks at her and she goes, "You're a hell of a softball coach, but you're a terrible surf instructor."
Love it. The 7 Innings podcast is back and better than ever. On this week's episode, the St. Pete recap. Jocelyn Alo tied for the home run record. So much more available on the ESPN app, wherever you get your podcast. Hey, today's game should be a talking point. You have 2 teams, 2 ranked teams that were averaging 12 runs per game combined. 1 run so far, 4 hits. We got an absolute pitcher's duel here, Cap, between the Sun Devils and the Longhorns.
We do. Haley Dolcini has settled in. She's keeping this Arizona State Sun Devils off balance. And freshman Mac Morgan, she's dealing on her own. So we could be looking at some low offensive numbers here at the end of this 7 innings.
Bella Dayton trying to stay warm out there in center field. It feels like it's getting colder as the game goes on here in Austin.
I feel like if we feel that in the booth, they probably feel that on the field. You see some fans bundled up there.
Yeah, huddling up for warmth. A 9-1 and 2 hitters for Arizona State due up this inning. Bella Loomis leading off. Lays down the bunt. Scott charging in and bobbles it. That'll be error number 2. At least that's what it looks like for the freshman today. Texas now up to 23 errors on the season, most of any Power 5 school in the nation.
Yeah, Loomis drops a bunt down. Mia Scott's quick to get on it, needs to stay under control a little bit. Gloves this, but in the transition, doesn't get her glove all the way, or her hand all the way into the glove to make that happen.
It's the second time today Bella Loomis has reached on a Mia Scott error.
Yeah, Mia Scott has great speed, just has to be able to use that and get under control quickly to make the play.
Back up to the top of the order we go, Jasmine Hill, who conversely made a great defensive play earlier in the contest, running in deep center field. Offensively, Hill, the junior, 0 for 1 with a walk.
We've seen Texas show bunt 8 different times, and now we see Arizona State trying to say, all right, you guys gonna play this game? We're gonna try it too, so 2 bunts attempted now.
This one mashed to deep left field into foul territory, and Popelka, like she was unable to hang on to that. She was there, but it bounced out of the glove.
Yeah, Popelka gave chase into the outfield, but as she got close to the wall, that ball just popped straight out of her glove. Unfortunately, no chance to even recoup it as it hits the wall.
Oh-2 chopped over to Jefferson, waits for it, and they get 1. Heart of the order here, some dangerous hitters. Again, Arizona State came into this game, top 25 highest scoring team in the nation, with 5 players batting better than 400, including Yanni Acuna, who came into this one hitting .435. Right now that average at .417. Team leading 5 doubles. One of the more patient hitters on the team as well with 6 walks. Acuna hit in the first inning. Fouls one off there.
Talk about Acuna and just how she's grown and found her way into this lineup. Coach Ford talks that emotionally she's grown in the fact that she doesn't ride the highs and lows of this game anymore. She's more consistent with the outcomes, understanding it's a process.
That one off the glove of Dolcini. Parker barehands it. Oh, that is one of the best defensive plays of her career.
This is not only a great play by Parker, but I'm not sure this isn't a base hit if Haley Dolcini doesn't tip it. So she tips this ball, slows it down. Mackenzie Parker bare hands and makes that play. Bang, bang over there. Great stretch by Mary Iacopo. Nice 1-6-3 put out there.
Especially in this weather, to barehand the ball like that. Tremendous play by Parker. That's exactly what Texas needed after committing their second error of the game earlier in this inning. They need some kind of spark as they've been trailing 1-0 since the opening moments of this game.
Yeah, you see Acuna trying to call herself safe on a replay, but it was a great play there. And yeah, you know, Mia Scott was over there stretching Parker's arm right now. Parker's probably like, man, haven't had to gun it that hard in the cold right now. But 2 good defensive plays. Janae Jefferson actually read a ball well for that first out and took herself a couple steps back in what looked like could have been a possible double play, but instead of rushing to field it, she got the single out at first. So Texas defense starting to help Haley Dolcini here keep the Sun Devils off the scoreboard.
Runner on third, 2 away. We'll get one last look at this one. Correct call, she was out.
Yeah.
So here is Sydney Sanders, walked in the first inning, grounded out in the third. Sanders hitting .476 during her freshman campaign.
You see here,
5 for 6 with runners on.
Alex, I think a lot of Texas's defense has actually been better because they're allowing themselves more room. So you see Mia Scott and Mary Iacopo behind the bag, allowing themselves more time. But it also gives Mackenzie Parker and Janae Jefferson some spacing. So you see Texas playing it a little bit different today, especially with Arizona State's power.
Loomis on third, the 2-0 to Sydney Sanders. Dolcini walked her in the first inning. Dolcini 2 walks in that first inning, none since.
Yeah, Dolcini controlling the zone a little bit better, allowing her other pitches to open up the rise ball.
There's a 4-pitch walk to the talented freshman. Runners on the corners with 2 away.
You know, looking at this situation with a 1-run lead, a runner at third, I think Coach White went out in that timeout to talk to Dolcini about, hey, if someone's going to beat us, it's not going to be Sydney Sanders. She's hitting .500 right now, 0 for 1 on the day. Let's not let her be 1 for 2 and keep that .500 average going. Let's be smart.
Here's Alina Torres hitting .391 on the year, .500 with runners in scoring position. Strike 1. Tricia Ford said, Torres is such a fierce competitor, quote, she'll bite your arm off to win a game.
I had to giggle when we heard that one, but you know, that's what coaches are looking for. They want the kids or the athletes that will just do anything it takes to win, and Coach Ford feels like she has a couple of those. And a lot of times if you have one, then others will follow suit.
Doesn't need her to bite an arm off, at least just trying to come up with a hit here for Tricia Ford's squad in a tight 1-run ball game. Runners on the corners, that one cranked foul.
I think the other thing about Torres that Coach Ford pointed out is that she brings the energy. On defense, on offense, she's the energy giver of this team. And so Arizona State obviously looking for her in this 2-out situation.
Loomis over at third, Sanders on at first. Arizona State with just 1 hit in the ball game. That's it. A double in the 4th inning. Texas out hitting the Sun Devils 3-1. Still trailing. 0-2 from Dolcini. In the shallow left it goes. Parker calling for it and makes the grab. So here we go, bottom of the 5th inning coming up. Simic, Dayton, and Gilbert for the Longhorns. So we got softball going on here at McCombs Field across the street at the Dish. Texas baseball gets underway. 3-game set against Alabama. Coverage begins here on LHN at 4:30 p.m. Central. Saturday first pitch roughly 1:30. Sunday at 1 p.m. Watch them all season long right here on LHN and live on the ESPN app. Couldn't be that cold out here now, could it? You can see a lot of smiles out there. Feels like it's getting colder at McCombs Field. Texas bats trying to heat up here. 3 singles, and that is all. Mac Morgan, the freshman, has held them at bay. Here's a freshman for Texas, Katie Simic, getting ready to lead off the bottom of the 5th inning. Texas was starting to break through in that last inning. 2 of their 3 hits on the day came in the 4th inning. Unfortunately for Texas, they couldn't take advantage and bring one of them home.
Yeah, I think the second time through, Texas starting to make a couple adjustments. I actually saw Mary Iacopo, Mackenzie Parker take that changeup and really drive it to the outfield. Texas may be sitting on that if they see it coming. But they did a good job of making adjustments after the first time through the lineup.
Mary Iacopo nearly went yard earlier in the game, but Texas still looking for extra base hit number 1 on the day against Mac Morgan, again, who came in as one of the top pitching recruits out of high school in the nation from Creighton, Missouri. Came into this game leading the Sun Devils in wins with 3 on the year, and has lived up to the hype so far.
We mentioned early on, Mac Morgan touches 70, 72 miles an hour. And while that's hard, she still has to be able to make the ball move and change speed. So Coach Ford using that changeup right there against Katie Simmons. But Mac Morgan doing a good job of using that pitch today.
Strikeout number 3 for Mac Morgan. That's 2 in a row for the freshman. Struck out Courtney Day to end the 4th inning. Now due up is Bella Dayton. Dayton, the transfer from Arizona. 4 hits on the young season. Bounces that one off of her head.
Home plate umpire going to call Bella Dayton out of the box, saying that ball, when it hit her in the head, that her feet were out of the box, which does result in an out. Coach White going to go up and make sure that she was in fact out of the box and not in fair territory. She crosses over and it hits her. No, she's still in the box when that hits her helmet. She had yet to run out of the box fully.
I think the umpire's arguing that her foot was out of the box. It didn't look like it on our first glance of the replay.
No, but even if her foot is out of the box, that results in a strike right now. That doesn't result in an out. That only results in an out if they have 2 strikes. So even if he wanted to call her foot, this should be strike 1. But when the ball hits her, she's still very well inside the batter's box when that hits her helmet. It's a tough break right there for Texas.
Well, quickly 2 outs, and we're going to have a pinch hitter for the Longhorns coming up. Mike White ends the conversation there and picks up a new one, relaying the fact that Jordan Whitaker will be coming up to pinch hit for Lou Gilbert. Texas looking for an offensive spark. Again, we're used to seeing a prolific offense under Mike White. This season they came in hitting .258, averaging 5 runs per game this year. So far, no runs, 3 singles, and that is it. So they turn to Jordan Whitaker, the sophomore from Jacksonville, Texas. She's 3 for 17 on the year, but one of those 3 hits is a home run.
You know, Alex, fans might be asking why Coach White didn't challenge that, as replay is now prevalent in NCAA softball, but you cannot challenge something that would put a runner on base. So he called Bella Dayton out of the box. That would put her either on base or reverse a call to her advantage. So I don't believe he can actually legally challenge that.
Tough break for Texas. It looked like they were starting to get a handle on Morgan in the previous inning. Now quickly 2 away here in the 5th. Whitaker trying to get going. She ended last year on fire, hit .429 in the Super Regional against Oklahoma State. Drove in the game-winning run in the deciding game of the Austin Regional. But again, so far this year, batting just .176. Back up the middle, Torres fields it on to first in a 1-2-3 inning. Worked by Mac Morgan, a 9-pitch frame. We head to the 6th inning in Austin, 1-0 Arizona State. To take a look at our game summary brought to you by thezebra.com. Arizona State getting a sac fly with the bases loaded from Alina Torres in the 1st inning, and that has held up. That's been the difference, the only run of the game. Mac Morgan, 5 shutout innings against Texas. Haley Dolcini, not bad either in the circle for the Longhorns. Just 1 hit allowed and 1 earned run in 5 innings of work. So here we go on to the 6th inning in game number 1 of the Texas Classic. Christiana Watson leading things off for Arizona State against Dolcini.
Yeah, in this type of weather, Alex, I don't think it's fun to hit no matter who you are. A lot of times, any centimeter off the barrel of the bat can hurt a little bit, and the weather may be to blame for only 4 combined hits between these two teams. But nonetheless, Mac Morgan and Haley Dolcini not letting the weather affect their performances. Both have looked outstanding and been backed up by some great defensive plays.
Is this as cold of a game as you ever pitched in? The wind chill is right about 29 degrees right now.
Not really sure I ever pitched in something this cold. I could be wrong, though.
That wind potentially cost Texas at least a run as Mary Iacopo hit one into right field, but it was blown into foul territory. Everybody bundled up here. Again, we're only playing 1 game today as the Texas Classic gets underway. They'll take a break tomorrow, no contest. Back in action on Sunday when the weather is supposed to warm up to a balmy 50 or so degrees. And continue into Monday.
50 might feel like beach weather after this.
Absolutely, we'll take it. Watson struck out to lead off the 4th inning.
That's a good spot right there by Haley Dolcini, knowing that Watson has some power. Good pitch there, low and at the knees in the inside corner. That's a pitcher's pitch, and I'm a little biased, but one I would like to see called.
And pitch number 100 on the day for Dolcini pushes this one to a full count. 61% of her pitches have resulted in strikes. Watson skies that one to shallow left. Out number 1. Sun Devils, despite having the lead, just 1 hit, a double in the 4th inning. That's all.
Yeah, Dolcini doing a good job of placing her pitches and spinning it tight. So that ball right there, Watson put a good swing, got under it a little bit, but Dolcini throws upspin. So that upspin is made to make those balls pop up. I think she might be commanding her spin just a little bit better today, which has resulted in quite a few easy outs for the Longhorns.
You know, Texas has gotten a little bit of bad luck in the circle, and the fact that when they are getting some strong pitching performances, the offense has gone quiet. Against UCLA, Sophia Simpson, she shut out the Bruins for her final 4 innings of work. Texas only allowed 2 runs to an offense averaging 7 runs per game, but Texas's offense only provided 1. Same thing today so far against Arizona State.
Yeah, Alex, we talked about the fact that Coach White mentioned how Haley Dolcini wasn't used to facing this caliber of opponent every day. It's the same for Texas's offense. Right now, they're facing everybody's number 1. They saw Sandra Koch from Florida State. They got Faremo from UCLA. They're seeing everyone's number 1 arm. So there's no days off for them to even have to have a chance at relaxing a little bit to try to find their groove. They're having to compete solid 1 through 9 day in and day out.
Texas trying to snap out of a 5-game losing streak, their longest since 2017. And there was a walk issued by Dolcini. It's her 4th of the game.
4th of the game. Not necessarily an aggressive at bat there for Dolcini against Rollins. Falling behind and never really giving Rollins a pitch to be able to swing at, but Coach White out. Looks like he's going to make a pitching change.
That'll be the end of the road for Haley Dolcini. A valiant effort in the circle. Talk about who's replacing her coming up next in a close 1-0 ball game in day 1 of the Texas Classic. Estelle Check, the sophomore transfer from NC State, taking over. She comes into this one the only pitcher on the Texas staff with an ERA below 3.
Stelchek gonna throw it from the left side, but she's a competitor. What Coach Mike White said after the weekend in Clearwater was he felt like she was the one pitcher that no matter how the game was unfolding, she was continuing to battle. She didn't let up. She was going to continue to attack the strike zone. He really likes that about her. And relief is actually something she's really comfortable with. Her freshman year at NC State, she was used mostly in relief. And that's the vision Coach White had for her coming into this year. Has had to start a couple games, but this is where she thrives, and he wants to see her get Texas some momentum as they go into their last 2 at-bats.
And again, credit to Haley Dolcini, as she allowed just 1 hit all game to a top 25 offense in the nation, just 1 run. And the Sun Devils averaging nearly 7 runs per game, 15 homers on the year coming in. Dolcini, tremendous job, but right now, Czech takes over with a runner on first, McKenna Harper at the plate. She came up with the only hit of the game so far for Arizona State. A double in the 4th inning. Here's the throw over to second base, and they got her! The throw from the freshman, Simmons.
Simmons makes a great throw on the money. Parker there. Did look like Rollin was going to beat it there, but you're not sure if her hand actually touched the bag before her hand gets there before the tag.
So there will be a challenge again. This is the first year in college softball we have the challenge in effect. If the call stands, that will be the second base runner the freshman Simmons has thrown out this season. Let's take another look at that if we can, as Simmons getting a number of starts this year in her freshman campaign.
So remember, Alex, every viewpoint, there has to be indisputable evidence that this play can be overturned. Looks to me from that angle.
I don't know. She may be safe there. That is.
They could possibly overturn it.
Right there. Tie goes to the runner.
Yeah. What you can't see is her hand is below the bag. If her hand actually came up on top of the bag, I could see it possibly being an obvious safe call. It's this angle right here that's going to have to be indisputable.
Looks safe there because Parker's glove's in front of her, but it doesn't touch her until there. What do we think?
To be honest, I think Rollins started her dive a little bit too soon. But they're going to overturn this.
Yeah, she is safe.
Rollins going to be safe at second.
Call reversed. Successful challenge by Tricia Ford, the head coach of Arizona State. So now a runner in scoring position. With only 1 out, that is a key call here in a close 1-run game. Count 1-1 to McKenna Harper.
You know, Alex, the other the other reason Coach White might have made this change is that now you have McKenna Harper, Bella Loomis, both coming up that are left-handed hitters in the bottom part of this lineup against a left-handed pitcher. That matchup a lot of times favors your pitchers if you pitch correctly, and he could be taking that matchup and hoping it works out in their advantage.
That pitch favored check is Harper. Whiffed on that one for strike 2. That one gets past Simmons, and the runner advances to third. Now Texas came into this game with 15 wild pitches. It's been a major problem this year. And that is now the 16th wild pitch. They had 21 all of last season, Kat.
Yeah, Czech trying to use a rise ball there. You see she'll throw a curve on both sides of the plate, a drop, a rise, a change. She's normally really efficient. We haven't seen that so far in this at bat, but that rise ball getting away from her.
It's a big second out recorded by Mia Scott.
So similar to Dulcini, checks a lot of upspin. That curveball's an upspin. Backdoor, same thing, rise ball. But she throws it a little bit harder, and obviously coming from the left side, when it tails away from a left-handed hitter, it's a little bit harder for them to stay with, and we saw right there McKenna Harper pop up on that pitch.
Arizona State in the big spot, 2 away, runner on third. We'll have a pinch hitter coming up for Jessica Puck, the veteran catcher who's hitless on the year. It'll be Jordan Van Hook, the junior from Woodland Hills, California. Van Hook comes into the game hitting .429 on the year with 2 runs driven in. Strike 1 from Czech.
And this is a little bit of that chess game that you watch coaches play. Coach White makes the change to go to Czech with lefties and Puck in the lineup. Trisha Ford very smartly saying, hey, we're going to let someone pinch hit for Puck right now with a runner on third. Negate their plan a little bit.
And that one gets away from Simmons, and the second run of the game comes home for Arizona State. The Sun Devils with a crucial run here in the 6th inning, making it a 2-0 lead. That is the 17th wild pitch of the season for Texas. Their second most in the last 4 years.
The way Simmons sets up, that looks like it's supposed to be a curveball inside, gets away from Czech, goes up and over the hitter's head. Texas pitchers really just have to be a little bit sharper in making sure that when their pitches miss, it misses in the direction it's actually supposed to go. I don't feel like that ball was supposed to be up in the zone unless there was a missed signal between the two. Looked like Simmons was set up low and inside.
What a big play in a game like this. Base is empty now. So Texas last year, 21 wild pitches. 2020 they had 16. The year before they had 16. In 2018 they only had 12 wild pitches again. Now they have 17 already this year in just their 12th game of the season. Full count on the way as that one missed.
Yeah, unfortunately the command of the pitchers has been a weakness for this Texas defense, because not only does it cause wild pitches and your catcher to be a little bit on her toes, but it also, your defense can't necessarily play based on where the pitch is called if you're not executing that pitch consistently.
Payoff pitch from Czech, and we'll do it again. And by the way, another run for Arizona State coming in an inning where they didn't even get a hit. Same thing that happened off their first run of the game back in the first inning.
Yeah, again, we talk about that command. It's free passes, wild pitches. You know, you're allowing Arizona State to advance around the bases on their own.
So the inning finally comes to an end. An inning-ending strikeout courtesy of Estelle Czech. Texas now trailing by 2 in the 6th. Chilly day at McCombs Field. Texas trailing 2-0 here. Alex Loeb and Kat Osterman with you. Temps in the 30s, wind chill in the 20s. Fans are dancing just to stay warm, just for trying to get something going here. And Texas, if they are going to rally, you would think it's going to come in this inning, or at least something's got to happen in this inning, because you'll have Janae Jefferson coming up, Mia Scott. But first, it's Lauren Burke, the senior, pinch hitting in the 9 spot in place of Alyssa Popelka. And there is a first pitch out.
Lauren Burke being aggressive, Gets a decent piece of the ball right back at Mac Morgan, but Texas needing base runners. I'd like to see them be a little bit more patient, knowing that they need to have people on base in order for the big part of their lineup to be able to drive them in.
Here is the big part of the lineup, Janae Jefferson. Looking to reach for the first time today.
Good eye by Janae Jefferson, and you know, she is an athlete that is typically aggressive, but with the amount that she's been struggling, it'd be nice to see her take some pitches, get some timing, see if she can get herself on base for free.
Jefferson, for her career, 20 hits away from 300, but forget about that. Texas trying to pull even, or at least cut the deficit in half with time running out. Longhorns down to their last 5 outs. Jefferson to deep left, and that one hauled in by Harper. Well, the Texas Classic continues on Sunday after having Saturday off at 5 p.m. Central. We'll get you going. Longhorns playing host to UTSA. Then at 7:30 p.m., Texas taking on Tulsa. Lots more softball action in store for you right here from McCombs Field, and hopefully it'll be a little bit warmer at the Texas Classic. Right now, Longhorns down to their last 4 outs. Mia Scott reached in her first 2 at-bats, walked in the first inning, stole a base, singled in the 4th inning, but was then thrown out.
We've seen Texas have 9 bunt attempts so far today, and not a single one has been put down in play. Fair for them, and that's an area of their game that if you have speed, you have to be able to execute that. So while Texas is trying to chip away, they do have 3 hits. That small ball is only going to be effective. Your speed's only going to be effective if you're able to use that small ball game.
Texas looking for their first hit since the 4th inning against Mac Morgan, who has been quite efficient. 76 pitches on the day. 3 strikeouts, 1 walk. This one hit to left, and Harper running around everywhere in the outfield in this frame. We've completed 6 here in Austin. The Sun Devils taking a 2-0 lead into the 7th. The Texas pitching has tossed a 1-hitter, but unfortunately for the Longhorns, they trailed 2-0 on the scoreboard. Both of those runs coming in an inning when Arizona State didn't get a hit, taking advantage of some Texas miscues. So here we go. 7th inning getting underway as Stelcheck back out on relief for Texas, facing the 9-1-2 hitters here at McCombs Field. Arizona State, Bella Loomis has reached twice, each time on an error by Mia Scott.
And there you see Bella Loomis moving through the box, going to put the ball in play again, and looks like she's picking on Mia Scott a little bit, trying to put the bunt back down that line, force Mia Scott to make a play.
Texas out hitting Arizona State 3-1. But we'll have to rally from a 2-run deficit here in the 7th inning.
Yeah, after the first time through the order, the Texas lineup made some adjustments. They were able to get some hits and runners on. Arizona State has had 2 clutch double plays that have eliminated a Texas threat.
One and 2 to Bella Loomis.
Meanwhile, yeah, Arizona State has really just made the most of Texas's mistakes. And really those mistakes have just come in the circle with free passes and wild pitches.
Alyssa Popelka, by the way, has re-entered the game in left field. This one smoked foul. Arizona State trying to move to 8-3. 7 wins on this season. 5 of the run rule variety. Came in hitting .332, 31st best batting average in the nation, averaging just about 7 runs per game, good for 25th in the country. Again, the offense has been held at bay, but they're still up 2-0 in a ranked matchup. Texas came into this one 1-4 against ranked teams on the young season. Longhorns 27 games this year against teams that were either ranked or receiving votes in the preseason poll. Foul ball there.
There you see the home plate ump saying the ball hit Bella Loomis while she was still in the box. You hear Megan Bartlett going out to argue because I feel like the Texas staff probably assumes that's the exact same play that Bella Dayton was called out of the box for. And they actually do look very, very similar.
I mean, if you're going to argue it, yeah, it was pretty much the identical.
They were very similar. The only other thing I could think that Megan Bartlett would be asking would be to see if the field umpires saw her step out of the box, but she's swinging away. This definitely does hit her in the box, but either way, Megan Bartlett going to force a conversation there. Yeah, she's nowhere near out of the front of the box, so I don't see that they can, even with a conversation, overturn that.
In a game like this, as tight as it is, Texas can ill afford to fall behind by any more than 2 runs or even allow another base runner for Arizona State. Call stands 2-2 to Bella Loomis.
Alex, in talking about Coach White wanting to see some fight and the fact that he saw it out of, we've mentioned Czech and Sophia Simpson last weekend, talking about the fact that Arizona State is up 2 runs to none without a hit. The one hit didn't even matter for those 2 runs, but that's how a team comes together in fights. They're trying to win this ball game regardless. They're finding any which way. Pitchers are executing, defense is executing. I think that's what Coach White's trying to see his team do, is really be able to put a complete game together, and even if it's not easy, find a way to gut it out.
He was very candid when we spoke with him earlier this week, saying, listen, down in St. Pete, we saw energy and passion and urgency from other teams, but he said he wanted to see it in his as well. Didn't feel like they were adequate in that category.
You know, my favorite quote from Coach White when we talked to him was,
there's a called strike 3.
The fact that he admitted that they faced adversity. And he said, one, everyone mentions adversity reveals character, but he said, adversity will give us opportunity. And here you see Estelle Czech making the most of this opportunity, throwing a nice off-speed pitch there. Bella Loomis not ready for it, taking it for strike 3.
Big first out, because now you go back to the top of the order. Some dangerous hitters, starting with Jasmine Hill batting .448 on the year. There's a swing and a miss from the junior.
Yeah, aside from the 2 wild pitches, the difference in Estelle Czech coming in and the pitching of Haley Dolcini is that Czech started attacking the strike zone right away. So now Arizona State is going to go up there being aggressive, knowing that she can and she will throw strikes.
Jasmine Hill, meanwhile, one of the best hitters on Arizona State this year. Last year hit .347 with 10 homers. And the year before as a freshman, batted .357. Walk to lead off the game. Swing and a miss for strike 2.
Estelle Czech using her speed and a little curveball, drop ball combination, it looks like, to get inside on the hands of Hill. Hill chased the first one a little low, and then Czech came in for that curveball right there that you saw.
Hill grounded out the 2nd and the 5th inning. Keep in mind, this is the first road game of the season for Arizona State. First 2 tournaments at home, and then they Come to the frozen tundra of McCombs Field. 2-2. Some close calls here for Czech.
Czech doing a good job of really just biting the corners there. I thought that was a really great pitch. Could have easily been strike 3.
Two and 2. There's a called strike 3.
Stelchek says, you're not going to give me the inside corner? Here, let me show you what the outside corner looks like. She throws another off-speed pitch and gets another Sun Devil looking.
Mike White said our 2 best pitchers right now, Sophia Simpson and Estelle Czech. Czech has now struck out 3 in a row.
That was great placement on that outside corner by Estelle Czech. Wasn't quite as slow as the changeup that she got Bella Loomis on, but did take some speed off of that one.
Yanni Acuna, base knock to right field with 2 outs here in the 7th.
Acuna executing that game plan that Coach Ford said she'd like to see them do, start to jump on pitches early in the count. Acuna sees it's a strike and drives this down the first baseline, just past the reach of Mary Iacopo.
Well, here comes a player who's been arguably the best hitter on the team this year, Sydney Sanders, the freshman. She's already walked twice in this one and hitting .476 on the year. A couple of home runs, 12 driven in.
Mentioned it a few times in this game so far, but Sanders being a freshman and being able to put those numbers up after the first 2 weekends is huge. And on top of that, you have a freshman in your 3 spot, 3-4 are usually your most experienced hitters. The one point that Coach Ford made about Sanders that I liked was she said, no matter who's in the circle, Sanders believes she's better than them. And regardless what happened the at-bat before, she still believes she's better than them.
Scott is underneath that one. So here we go. Bottom of the 7th inning on the way. Texas trailing by 2 with Iacopo, Parker, and Day due up. In a top 25 battle here in Austin, talented freshman Mac Morgan trying to wrap up the first complete game of her career, facing the heart of the Texas order coming up. 3, 4, and 5 hitters. Mary Iacopo leading off the 7th inning. She nearly put Texas in front in the 4th inning with Mia Scott aboard, hit one that just turned foul as the wind pushed it a little bit too far to the right. Leads off here with one to deep right field and off the top of the wall. Iacopo with a leadoff double here in the 7th.
Mary Iacopo is an extremely smart hitter. She goes to opposite field well. This is the 3rd or 4th pitch that Mac Morgan has thrown her in the strike zone, out on the outer half, and she keeps trying to drive it to right field. She keeps this one fair, off the wall for a double. She actually took a peek, wondering if that ball got away from Acuna in right field. But Coach White making sure, hold her up, you're already in scoring position. Let's not push the envelope and try to stretch 2 into 3.
For Iacopo, that's her team leading 4th double of the year. So now the tying run will come up to the plate in the form of Mackenzie Parker. Struck out with a runner on in the 1st, singled in the 4th inning. Now coming into this game, Parker led the Longhorns with runners in scoring position, hitting .545. That category with 7 RBIs. Timeout momentarily called in the circle. We'll have a new pitcher taken over just like that. Surprised Mac Morgan's day is done after she pitched a gem.
Yeah, she pitched really well, kept the Texas hitters off balance with her changeup. Coach Tricia Ford just going to go with a completely different look. She's going to put in junior left-handed pitcher Lindsay Lopez. This is going to keep Texas having to guess on how they're going to make an adjustment. But again, we talk about the chess games when you pinch hit and sub pitchers in and out, and Coach Ford I'm going to go with her junior, who's actually having an amazing year. She has a 1.17 ERA. Hard to score off of.
Mac Morgan, just like that, her day is done. Only 4 hits allowed, 6+ shutout innings. You mentioned Lopez, the junior. Trish Ford said they call her Lefty Magic, and she has lived up to that early this season. 18 strikeouts and just 3 walks on the young year.
Yeah, she goes at the zone well. Coach Ford said over her time there in Arizona State, she's learned how to create space between her pitches and really allowing herself to be able to utilize multiple parts of the strike zone.
So here's Mackenzie Parker, who's been as dangerous of a hitter as anybody on the Texas team this year, swinging away at the first pitch.
You know, Alex pointed out again, we have left-handed pitcher going in when left-handed hitters are coming up to bat. So this lefty-on-lefty matchup, probably Coach Ford assuming again, she's going to hope it works out in the favor of the pitcher as it typically does and allow Mackenzie Parker to see something completely different than what she saw earlier this game.
Lopez was a terrific pitcher last year as well, led the team in ERA.
Yeah, Lopez, she'll throw about 64 to 66 miles an hour. Again, has a little bit of everything, rise, drop, curve. She will throw a fastball, has a changeup. Coach Ford said when she came in, everything kind of was spaced together, and she's learned how to really start to put her curveball on the right parts of the plate. Her inside pitches, space them a little bit better.
And she gets a big out right there as Parker flies out to center field. That's the second time in this game Parker's come up with a runner on, but hasn't been able to take advantage. So 1 away, Iakopo remains on second base. Courtney Day coming up. Day reached on an error in the second and struck out to end the 4th inning. Texas again trying to snap a 5-game losing streak. And also hoping to avoid falling to 1-5 against ranked teams, down to their last 2 outs. Strike 1 from Lopez.
Yeah, Texas really unable to string things together and gain any type of momentum in this game on the offensive side. You have to tip your hat to Mac Morgan and the Arizona State defense, erasing some runners early in the game, but see Mary Iakopo lead off with the double, but the next hit, jam job to center field. Texas going to have to figure out how to create some rallies for themselves in order to get themselves on the right path again.
Lopez ready to go. Bounces the 1-2. Puck right there did a nice job keeping that one in front of her.
And Coach Ford's mentioned how valuable Puck is back there, and have to imagine she's gotten quite a bit of training with her brother, AJ, being a Major League first-round draft pick.
Day to deep center field. Hill makes the grab right in front of the track. So 2 fly balls to center, resulting in 2 outs. And the Longhorns now down to their last out of the ball game. Jasmine Hill's been terrific in center all game long.
And Jasmine Hill has amazing speed, and she's getting great jumps on these balls. Mary Iakopo put one out into the left center gap earlier this game, and Courtney Day gives that one a ride straight over her head. But a good job covering some ground and getting those outs for the Sun Devils.
So this one comes down to the freshman, Katie Simmons. 2 hits so far in her Texas career. And she will head on over to first base, so the tying run is now over at first.
Yeah, home plate umpire saying that ball ricocheted off of her elbow. Does come inside. She doesn't make a move like it tipped her, but he says it tipped her elbow guard right there. Looks like it could have. Changed a little bit of spin and popped out of Puck's glove. So tying runs on second, and Coach White going to bring in Brianna Cantu.
Hey, how about that? Texas getting a call in their favor there. Huge spot for Bree Cantu now. Iakopo on second. Simmons right behind her at first. And here is Cantu, the former transfer from Texas Tech. Second on the team in RBIs with 5 this season. Again, Puck keeping that one in front of her. So Iakopo started off this inning with a double. Parker flew out to center. Day flew out to center. Simic hit by a pitch. And here we are. Count 2-0. Lopez falls behind. Cantu hit .314 last year. 3 hits so far this season. If she can come up with number 4, it would be huge. And all of a sudden, Lopez 1 ball away from loading the bases with 2 outs here in the 7th inning. Again, they went quick to the bullpen. Mac Morgan, a fantastic outing, gave up a leadoff double. Just like that, she was yanked. And all of a sudden, Texas with 2 aboard and Cantu facing a 3-0 count.
Yeah, Lopez looks like she's trying to go inside with a curveball. It's missing a little bit low. Cantu making sure she sees some pitches before she puts a swing on the ball, get herself some timing, but at the same time, Texas needs base runners.
The 3-0 from Lopez finds the strike zone.
Bri Cantu making the face like I should have swung at that one, but in a 3-0 count, not necessarily what you want to do right now, especially when you're that far ahead of the pitcher.
The sophomore from League City. Swing and a miss. Texas down to their last strike.
Bri Cantu, you mentioned, has some power. Opening weekend this year, displayed that. Had herself in the starting lineup.
Payoff pitch, sent down the line and right, and that one will drop in past a diving Acuna. Great effort by the senior from Tucson.
This ball well foul, but Acuna never gives up on it. Tries to lay out even though she's about 1.5 feet short. Head first into the padding there on the fence, but you've got to love the effort. If you're a pitcher, you're always excited to see that effort out of your outfielders.
So Texas will get another opportunity. 7th pitch of the at-bat on the way. Tying run at first. The 3-2. That's got to be tough for Cantu. Come off the bench. Cold in every way possible. Been sitting the home game, and this one in the 20s and wind chill, and a crucial spot here.
Yeah, and not only that, a new pitcher had just come in 3 batters before, so you haven't seen a lot of what she offers.
And the bases will be loaded for Texas here in the bottom of the 7th inning.
There you see some patience pay off for the Longhorns. Cantu gets herself 3-0, fights off a couple pitches. That changeup just misses high. And then you see Coach White, he's going to come in and make another change. He's eliminating this lefty-on-lefty matchup that Arizona State was trying to combat, putting Lopez in right now.
Here comes Alyssa Washington, the sophomore from Abilene, hitting .308 on the season. Last year was a member of the Big 12 all-freshman team, hit 3 home runs. And after Bri Cantu came up with a huge pinch hit walk, here is Washington. Bases full of Longhorns. Down by 2, 2 outs here in the 7th. Strike 1.
Alyssa Washington, extremely athletic. We see her play multiple positions when she is in the starting lineup for Texas. We saw her at shortstop last week. We've seen her a little bit in the outfield, third base. But she possesses some power. You mentioned she was on the Big 12 all-freshman team. She was a unanimous vote. That's the respect that she had from the coaches in the conference last year.
Into Texas as a highly touted player out of Abilene. Huge spot with Iacopo on third, Simmons on second, Cantu over at first. Two and one to Washington.
Big situation for this sophomore. Texas not only looking for the life to be able to extend this game, hopefully, but Alyssa Washington continually kind of being in and out of the lineup, and this is a situation that could really help build her confidence.
And they have absolutely nowhere to put her with the bases full and the count 3-1. Lopez, since coming on in relief, has now thrown 18 pitches in this inning. Hitters count. And we go full again, second straight batter.
Both pinch hitters for Texas have come in and done a really good job of being disciplined. Both Alyssa Washington and Brianna Cantu, the pitches they swung at were in the zone, and they're not chasing a lot, so great job by them.
Swing and a miss, and the ball game is over. Lopez comes out of the pen to seal it in dramatic fashion. Arizona State with their first top 25 win on the road since 2019 in their first road game of the season.
Yeah, Arizona State really being comfortable playing at home for the first two weekends. They were challenged today by great pitching from Haley Dole